I am ChosenArchitect, and this is the Stoneopolis mod pack. Now, stepping back into our Stoneopolis world, there is a lot to get done today, and I feel like today is going to get even hotter than the last couple of episodes. And that's not entirely because I'm in the room, you know? Okay, enough joking aside, but all seriousness, today we're going to be hopefully unlocking some nether materials. According to the quest, it looks like we are going to be making basically soul sand, looks like glowstone dust, netherrack, and we're getting access to gold, and of course some other sapling colors, including pink and magenta, and this all coming out of the netherrack section. Oh, and not to mention, we get access to quartz, and quartz is another beautiful building block that we'll now have access to. But how exactly are we going to get started with this? Well, it looks like to be able to make netherrack, we're going to need copper meshes. But we're also going to need to combine those with our blazing fluid. And now I have actually prepped up some blazing fluid. And if you don't remember last episode, that is just 4 blaze powder and 1 bucket makes a bucket of this blaze fluid inside of a mixer from Immersive Engineering. And so I have a couple of buckets here. And of course I have some extra space in our massive sieving area. And I'm going to go ahead and place that in just like that. I don't know if this fluid hurts you to step in. No, even though blazing fluid sounds like a very hot liquid, I guess in this particular case it's not, but I still wouldn't recommend diving in it, as we really don't know the long-term effects of dipping our toes in blazing fluid. The more I think about this, the less I really want to do it. And now all of this combined with some copper meshes should get us all up and running. Now, just basing everything off of the numbers and statistics that I see on this particular block, this is going to be quite a challenging material to generate, because its generation rate is a 20% chance. That's very, 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 very low in this particular mesh. Now, it does say the higher tier meshes you go up, the better chances you have of getting this material. So currently this is a tier 2 mesh. And if we take a look at mesh, which I mean, I'm still kind of not understanding this, but there are other meshes here. And I don't think that's going to improve the rate. This is a tier 2 mesh, and we don't really have meshes that go higher other than iron, and iron does not have a recipe dedicated to this item. So yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a challenge to get. So just based off these rates, I'm pretty sure my maths out, and we have 640 right here. There's 10 stacks, right? So that should be 640 blocks. And then if we divide that by the 20%, the 20, that means that out of all of these blocks, we're probably going to end up with just 32. 32. And then on top of that, there's only a 5% chance that we actually get a bud. And that 5% chance comes from an iron mesh. So yeah, our chances on this stuff is pretty low, and it's going to be quite the grind. But while we're waiting on this, it might be a good time to start building up our garden cloche infrastructure. Now, based off of my initial count of how many individual garden cloches I would need to be able to satisfy, from the looks of it, everything we currently have access to, and maybe a couple give or take, it looks like about 32 garden cloches is what we would need in order to effectively, and this is, you know, effectively cover most of our bases. Now, that's a lot, and I don't think at the moment we're going to make that many. I just don't think that that's going to be feasible, but we can go ahead and get our room prepped up so that way we hopefully in the future can supply that many. And so what I'm thinking is, much like this room over here, over on this side, I think I want to set up a garden cloche room. And then this is going to be the expansion to where our big machines are probably going to go. So for me, it looks like it's time to go back to mining. And so off I go. So actually, I think on my numbers, I was a bit off on that, the 640, because I was dividing it by 20, which I believe was making a mistake. Because instead of dividing it by 20, technically you would multiply it by 20, and that got me about 128 that we should expect to see out of this here. And so far I have 43, and we're still working our way through here, and I believe my copper meshes are still holding up quite strong. So I'm getting there, and then my room over here is really starting to expand. So now I've just got to start working on actually making the cloches, and then figure out how I'm going to do water. And then I'm also realizing how expensive pipes are going to be. And that's mainly because every single set of pipes, which only gives you, I believe, 8 pipes, ends up costing you 6 of these iron mechanical components, and each one of these cost 1 copper, 1 lapis alloy, and 2 iron. Essentially being 16 iron per 8 pipes. Oh god, here I go again messing up numbers. I mean 12 iron for every set of 6. Now, all in all, I hope I'm not sounding like I'm complaining about these recipes, because I actually really like them. It does seem like it really does fit together with like all of the work that I'm doing, and I'm playing solo. So if you were playing with a friend, this would be an even better experience. But yeah, I really feel like these recipes are kind of great. And yes, I know I'm playing on a server, so technically not playing alone. I am kind of playing late at night though, which I mean is kind of a thing. Don't you judge me. I know that you do it too. You definitely have late nighters from time to time. Come on now, especially if you enjoy what you're playing. Cough, cough. Now, referencing back to us trying to get a higher percentage to be able to get netherrack, there are some upgrades, and I did mention that, well, these upgrades weren't really worth my time, but I think I might be a little bit wrong there. So under the upgrade section, if you take a look at the notes, it tells you a little bit more about what these do. And I think I was missing or misinterpreting what the input and output upgrades do. So there is an improved input upgrade. It says input consume chance, 80%, mesh chance or mesh damage chance is 100%. This one I'm still a little bit confused about. On the input consume chance, I'm assuming that it will not consume the input item. That's my assumption. But the mesh damage being 100%, I'm assuming means it is going to tear up the mesh a lot quicker. But the output one is very interesting. It says additional output chance of like 20%, I believe, on the base improved version. So this is the improved version. I think this is the beginner one. And this one's actually not that expensive to get into. Just a little bit of copper, some stone. Whereas we cannot go any higher than this. So this is going to be our best option. And to be able to see that information, we have to actually click on this. So it is going to damage our mesh more. And it's going to give us a bonus of 20% for an additional output. So this might be helpful for those really, really pesky ones that we were seeing. For example, like this, that only has a 5% chance of being obtained. And even the netherite gold, which also has a pretty low chance, being only 20%. But I still don't know, is it worth the mesh consumption rate? That's a bullet I'm probably going to have to bite to at least try. And hopefully I survive it. So let's go ahead and toss this in. And I have no idea, whenever we would have to watch this mesh's durability dip down every operation. I don't know. I'm assuming this mesh is going to 100% get chewed up, but I'm still confused by exactly what that 100% mesh damage chance is going to be. I guess maybe there's a chance for it not to be consumed potentially, and this just makes it always guaranteed to consume 1 durability. So it may not actually be changing anything at all, and I'm down with that. Now back to the garden cloche array, and yeah, there's a lot of them now. 16 to be exact, not counting the 3 that we have connected over here. And so this should draw about 128 RF for all of these, as they do run about 8 RF per tick, and I'm still only using 1 of the floppers, and I think that is going to be enough. Now this is going to be a funny connection right here, because I'm going to have all of these connected in like this. And so this is going to get kind of crazy looking. And now with everything connected in, this massive spider web of cloches all connected up are now powered and ready to go. And something that I definitely need to have running in here is, well, some orange saplings, 100% for sure. So, by the way, what do you think about the new cape? The new 15 years of Minecraft cape. I think it looks pretty darn cool. A little bit green for my taste, but you know, it's still pretty neat. So now that I have the garden cloches up and running, I think it would be a good idea to set up a separate drawer controller network and have that completely set up over on this side, allowing everything that this, for example, generate to go into the storage controller. And I don't think we have a void upgrade ability, but what we could do is we could use conveyor belts, and anything that doesn't go automatically in the storage controller well, we can just have that voided to make sure this is always generating. So when setting up this drawer network, I'm going to go ahead and place the controller right here because this actually does not need to be directly connected to our drawers. And we can go ahead and link that. I'm going to go ahead and shift right click here and then go ahead and select the area. And these should all now hopefully be selected, I think. Right? Make sure. Swap selection to add. Oh, this ended up changing into some weird mode, didn't it? Okay, so there we go. So now we're in add mode. It seems like if I don't actually click on a drawer, it does change its mode here, but we should be good, right? There we go. Swap to add. Perfect. Okay, with all of that figured out, what I'm going to actually use is a dropper conveyor belt, and I'm going to have this facing this way, and that should allow me to place this. And what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to now have a line of belts that are directly connected to this. And what is cool is these will automatically output to these belts, believe it or not. And this is going to be a very nice way of sort of automating this. I hope I have enough drawers for right now. I'm going to put a couple of saplings in here just to kind of get things speed running. And by the way, you cannot put fence underneath here. They will actually block the items from going. But what I really want is if they can't go into this storage drawer network over here, then I want them to be voided. So this is going to drop the items into the lava if there is nowhere else for them to go, if this storage is filled. So not only does this give us the ability to farm only the things we want, it allows us to void off and prevent congestion, which is very, very bad for servers. So a perfect example of this is I'm going to go ahead and get cactus, for example, growing in here. I'm going to get some industrial hemp. We're going to have some potatoes farming in this, some carrots. I think these are all good things to have like currently farming right now. Not all of them are 100% necessary, but should definitely get the ball rolling. And then the rest, I want to split half of these to be black saplings, which I think will be great because those give void apples, which is amazing food. And also we need it for dirt so we can make more sand for right now. That's probably going to change here soon because we won't actually need as much because we'll have a crusher. Spoilers. But the orange we definitely need. So the orange is going to provide a lot of leaves for us. And the more of those I can have running, honestly, the better. Because I already have redstone and everything else going, this is going to be probably one of the most important. Because there's nothing worse right now than going back and needing to manually farm more leaves. So already we can see the stack of items floating onto the belt and making their way over here. So what we're going to need to do is probably filter these items out once they all start really running in here, and I'll get them filtered the way I want. But for right now, if these drawers fill up, which I think they hold, if I can check here, I think you can shift right click on these. If I don't have this in my hand, they will hold like 256,000 items, I think, or sorry, 2,048 items, I do believe. Which is quite a bit. And once it goes over that amount, this belt will no longer allow those items to go into this, and thus the only place else they'll have to go is into the lava. So now that I know all of these items are ready to go, and these are all that we're going to be receiving, I'm going to go ahead and hit the lock on this. This is going to lock all of the drawers, so that way we don't end up getting extra items that we don't want. So hopefully this isn't getting too confusing, as this quest line really divulges into some really, really complex stuff, or time-consuming things, just due to the percentages. But we are going to need, by taking a look at this, we are going to need to actually make ourselves a crusher from the looks of it. So that is a kind of expensive, so I've been working on farming up some of the blocks for that. But getting a crusher is going to be twofold, very, very nice. It's going to, one, allow us to process our gold a lot more effectively, but we're also going to be able to get sand from it. There's actually several recipes that we'll unlock by having a crusher, but for right now, I just need to focus on being able to get the bud, which is what I'm working on here. So I have some blaze fluid and an iron mesh. That just needs to work its way through this. So I'm hoping one stack of this should be able to grant me at least one or two of these budding quartz blocks, which would be fantastic. So that way we can grow them in a garden cloche and be able to get access to quartz. So one of those will end up being turned into that, which will be great. And then we also need soul sand. So I actually need to put sand through the same process as that we just did. And this one is also a 20% chance to get soul sand. And so a little bit of that will lead to a little bit of glowstone. And this actually unlocks a couple of things within blood magic it does appear. And just like that, I already have myself a single budding nether quartz. So that actually didn't take very long at all. And I don't think these have even processed through quite a few of these yet. You know, just that YouTuber luck. So since we ended up getting that so quickly, I went ahead and sent my meshes over here so that way I could process up some of this netherrack and hope to get some of these nether gold ore. And this ore right here, apparently when put through the crusher, will give us 2 gold dust, which is going to be immensely helpful, as the amount that we get from this and just the rates alone are just so awful. And so I definitely want to get this starting to process. So I'm going to go ahead and place this in with my cluster template, and this should hopefully start growing some quartz. I've just got to babysit it for a little bit because the items that it drops, or the quartz it drops, I definitely want to pick it up off this belt. Otherwise it's going to get voided until I add it to the actual drawer list. So babysitting I must. As it grows and grows and grows, it's going to get there eventually. And you're watching it with me. I'm forcing you to watch it with me. It's going to grow. And there it goes. And I should be able to pop up on the belt and grab it and toss it into the list. So I feel like I'm definitely getting somewhere. As soon as I can get some soul sand and also start making some nether wart, we can just infinitely grow those things. So I decided to take a few of my netherrack and start the process of getting that. So I'm going to go ahead and put in here that, and we only need 1 technically to be able to start growing them just like our quartz. And so I definitely made sure to make some more of those improved upgrades as they are super necessary. I don't know why that didn't go there, but there we go. So now we have both of them producing. Oh, and we already have 1. So I'm going to pull this out because I do not want to waste this material as it takes so long to get it. I just want to make sure that that goes back into this process to make gold. And then we just need to take some sand, and the sand, to be able to be turned into some soul sand, needs to go through a copper mesh in the blazing fluid. So just this one over here. So the same sort of setup. And so we're going to place some of that in here, and that should produce soul sand. And as soon as I get at least 1, I'm going to add another one to the garden cloche. And so perfect, we should be able to definitely take down another one of these, and I'm going to swap it out for this. Oh, can we not grow this in a garden cloche? We can. It requires soul sand. Oh, that has to be out of there. Perfect. So there we go. So now we should be growing this. I'm going to let that grow back up and just add it to my list. So with all of that out of the way, it's definitely time to get a crusher up and running. And after prepping a few of these items, we should now be able to make them. And I'm going to need, probably the hardest part about this, we're going to need 10 engineering blocks, light engineering blocks. And so we're going to have to make 12 of them because that's just how the craft works. Thankfully, we already had enough steel fence to make everything, enough scaffolding. Of course, an engineering block because we had 3 of those from the initial craft, I believe. No, 4 of them. And then 9 hoppers. It does cost a lot of iron, but that's probably the one thing that I have the most of at this point. Now, trying to build this one from memory is a little bit more tricky, but I think I remember it. And I remember it being a 3x5. So I'm actually going to have it placed up against this wall. And I believe... definitely doesn't have this on the back. I think the whole back wall, if I remember correctly, is the engineering blocks. And it's a double wall of engineering blocks on the back. And then we should have a line down the middle. And I think it's 2 engineering blocks here, 1 here. Seems a little weird building it out like 3-dimensional like this. And then on the front, we'll have our redstone control, which is where the lever gets placed, and another engineering block. And so that's it for our engineering blocks. And then we just have to worry about our fence placement, which I believe wraps around the center coil here. And this is like representing our crushing part. And then we have the hoppers, which all just get placed like this on top. Just like so. And that should be the entire completed structure. And then we just need our hammer. So let's grab our hammer here. And we should be able to right click it right here on this block. And boop, there we go. With it all completed, this is now a fully assembled crusher. And just like everything else we've done, we have to give it some power. And so that should be as simple as tapping into this power port that's back here. That is, if I can get it on there correctly. I've also got to try and avoid touching those cables because those cables will shock you. And it can also break the cables. So something to note. But there we go. So now with it fully powered up, I think what I'm going to do is add a nice little way of getting up here because it's not super easy to get items into this. So I think setting this up to have a belt system sort of wrap around back is probably going to be the best bet. And this will loop around just like so. That way I can just toss the items onto the belt and it'll bring it all the way up to the top and drop it in. And now what we should be able to do is on the output, it'll automatically output to an inventory that is here or even a belt. So in this case, I should be able to just drop in some cobblestone onto this belt. That should then get yeeted into the hopper. I might have to extend this out maybe one more, unless that went the wrong way. Let's actually look. I got to be careful when going under the belt. I don't want to get pulled in myself. Ah, yes, this is going to need to be extended out just one more from the looks of it. One thing you don't want to do is you don't want to really get caught in here yourself. So leaving these blocks here is probably a good idea. So I should be able to simply place this here. That's going the wrong way. So I'm going to hit it one time and there we go. And now that cobble, of course, is just stuck there, but I should be able to grab some more cobble potentially. And then I can go ahead and use that. It's just way too risky trying to jump up in there. I mean, we've already made enough OSHA violations. Me going into a crushing hopper just sounds like a disaster. So moment of truth, let's toss this on in. Oh, that was sad. Let's try that again. Toss it on in. And now, there it goes. It should go in here and start crushing up. And we now are starting to get gravel. And this is our first gravel, by the way. This is the first time achieving gravel. That is fantastic. Now, let's go over here while that's doing this, and let's grab out our gold. And we basically have doubled our gold now by making that. So the 55 we have here is now going to be completely increased, and we should end up with 110 gold from this operation. And I should be able to just take that and toss it onto the belt. That's going to go up into here, and that is going to get crushed in its own right into gold dust. Perfect. Okay, and we just have to turn that into regular gold. Now, something else to note, that gravel can also be turned into sand. So this just added a nice way to get sand, and now we also have flint. But we also have infinite flint now because we also have gravel. And the way you get infinite flint, by the way, is by using a shovel on a cutting board, and you will always get back the gravel. So it gives you infinite flint for durability on that shovel. And now to satisfy those quests, we now have gold. Perfect. And we need, I believe, 4 of them to make a full gear. And the only thing left in this quest line is to now take some of that nether wart that we should have had farming up to this point and get those sieved for a few of these things, which I do believe can be grown. Oh no, they actually cannot be grown from the looks of it. So yes, we are going to have to sieve quite a bit to be able to unlock what it looks like, unlock these things. So this is only a % chance from what is basically 9 of these wart. That is quite a bit. Only 30% chance on these. So I guess one nice thing about having the array of garden cloches is we can just use them temporarily for any sort of task. And so I've got this whole thing right now just pumping these things out because we're going to need a lot more than I thought we were going to need. Like just making 9 of them is definitely not going to get me the parts I need with it only being a 30% chance. And we actually need, for each of the saplings, we're going to need 3 each. So we're going to need a total of 6 each. And it looks like it's just a random chance to get either or. So what a episode so far, man. We've gotten so much progress. I even went ahead and sieved up, or I keep saying sieved. I went ahead and strained up some glowstone. So we also have that quest off the list. I mean, we are about to complete this. We just have to make a gear, and then I have to make these 2 saplings. And we should be ready to rock and roll. And now the saplings here, so basically we have a sapling that's going to be like this, or maybe the other way around. I think it's the other way around. So we'll have one that's like so. That'll be the magenta one. And then we're going to have one that's like this. Watch it be the opposite way. There it goes. And that's going to unlock pink and magenta. So basically now we have blue's clues because we have magenta, we have blue, and we're all ready to go. Okay, that one was a stretch of a reference right there, for sure. But to be able to wrap up this chapter, all we have to do is exchange this out for the metal press, and it's wanting us to make a single gear. Well, for now. Of course, we're probably going to be making multiples of these gears, but this finishes up our chapter. Oh, yes. We are ready to go. We now finished up the entirety of the Netherrack chapter. And of course, we have our bucks that we can go ahead and claim. And that is going to lead us into the latex chapter. And this one, boy, does it look interesting as we are about to dive into industrial foregoing. And if I remember industrial foregoing correctly, well, we're going to be pulling a lot of fluids out of wood. Oh, yeah. Anyways, so I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you did, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And also give this video, guys, a huge thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. Of course, guys, it's now time to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that huge thanks is going out to CG3TZ. Thank you so much, by the way, for joining the Discord and becoming a Discord premium member and joining in one of the best ways possible. Thank you so much for your amazing support, and thank you guys all for watching. If you're interested in joining the Discord, you can find it linked down in the description below. And while you're down there, also check out my Twitch link. I do a stream on Twitch typically 3 days a week, so you can typically find me there. That is if I'm not on a vacation or something. And with that, guys, I do appreciate it. I'll of course see you in the next one, and as always, thanks for watching. Bye!